welcome back to my channel. Today we're back with another video in the How to VGC series, and today we're going to talk about Pokemon statuses. So there's two types of status conditions that can affect your Pokemon. There's something called non-volatile status and something called volatile status. So a non-volatile status is something like burn, poison. These are things that will not go away when you switch a Pokemon out of the field. When you take a burned Pokemon off the field, it remains burnt, for example. And a volatile status is something that does go away when you switch a Pokemon off the field. So things like Confusion and Taunt will go away when you take your Pokemon off the field. Okay, so there's 5 different kinds of non-volatile status. Burn as a status can be a little bit difficult to deal with. It will never go away, so your Pokemon will be burnt until it dies. And if your Pokemon's a physical attacker, it will have all of its damage from physical moves halved. So that's really going to limit the offensive output of your physical attacking Pokemon. So burn is a status condition that will do 1/16 of your max HP of damage per turn. So if you have 160 max HP when fully healthy, every single turn, burn is going to take 10 HP off of your Pokemon. Something to keep in mind is that fire-type Pokemon cannot be burnt. So if you're up against a fire-type physical attacker, don't try to burn it because you can't burn a fire-type. Next up is freeze. And freeze is non-volatile, meaning it won't go away when you switch your Pokemon out, but it also will not be there forever. So basically what freeze does is it makes it so that your Pokemon can't use any moves except for a few moves which will thaw the user out when those moves are used. Additionally, if your Pokemon is hit by a damaging fire move or scald or steam eruption, you'll also be thawed out. So those are some ways that you can remove freeze from your Pokemon. You also have a 20% chance to be thawed every turn. So there's no time limit on how long a Pokemon can be thawed, but full odds for thawing your Pokemon would be 5 turns. Finally, keep in mind you can't freeze an ice type, so don't even try. Next up is paralysis, and this one can also be kind of difficult to deal with. It's very important in speed control because when your Pokemon is paralyzed, its speed is cut in half. It's kind of the opposite of Tailwind in that way. Tailwind doubles your speed, whereas paralysis is going to cut your speed in half. Not only is your speed cut in half, but you'll also have a 25% chance of not being able to use any moves. That's what we call a full para or fully paralyzed. And keep in mind, you can't paralyze electric type Pokemon. Next up is poison. So when you're poisoned, your Pokemon will take 1/8 of your maximum HP and damage each turn. Now, when you Dynamax, it's important to keep in mind that these 1/8, 1/16 numbers that we throw out, those numbers apply to your max HP when not Dynamaxed. So when you Dynamax, and your HP numbers are doubled, you're essentially taking 1/16 of your quote-unquote full HP for the turns that you're Dynamax. So Dynamax can be a good way to sort of increase your survivability and decrease the amount of damage that things like poison are doing to you. Additionally, poison and steel-type Pokemon, for the most part, cannot be poisoned. They can only be poisoned by a Pokemon with the corrosion ability. There's an additional type of poison status, which is called badly poisoned. This type of poison is usually inflicted by the move Toxic. It can also be inflicted by Toxic Spikes if it's been used twice. So there's 2 layers of Toxic Spikes. Then Pokemon that are switched in will be badly poisoned. And the way that badly poisoned works is that the amount of damage you take from poison increases every turn. So instead of a flat 1/8 of your max HP each turn, instead, it will first inflict damage equal to 1/16 of your maximum HP, and then the next turn, it will increase by 1/16. So on the second turn, it'll be 2/16, the third turn, it'll be 3/16 of your maximum HP, etc., etc. It will keep increasing until you die. The way to stop it from increasing the amount of damage it does every turn is to switch your Pokemon out. So when you switch your Pokemon out, your Pokemon is still badly poisoned. It will still take damage when you switch it back in, but the damage counter will be reset. Meaning, when you bring it back in, it will take 1/16 of its maximum HP and start increasing again from there to 2/16 and then 3/16. And finally, the last non-volatile status we have to talk about is sleep. Now, sleep is really popular in the meta. It can be very helpful, but it's very dependent on RNG. So when a Pokemon is asleep, it can't use any moves except for Sleep Talk or Snore. And that sleep will last randomly between 1 and 3 turns. Now, when we say between 1 and 3 turns, that counter happens when the Pokemon attempts to use a move. So let's say I'm a Lilligant in Sun, and I'm faster than this enemy Pokemon that I'm attempting to put to sleep. I'm successful in using Sleep Powder. I put that enemy Pokemon to sleep. It's guaranteed to be asleep that turn. It will not use a move afterwards. So that counts as turn number 1, meaning every turn after that, it could wake up. Now, let's say that I'm a Lilligant out of Sun and I'm slower than my enemy Pokemon, meaning that my Pokemon uses a move and then I put it to sleep. Now I know that the next turn it's guaranteed to stay asleep because that is turn number 1. And we know that sleep lasts randomly some amount between 1 and 3 turns. Meaning that after 3 turns of not being able to use a move, the Pokemon is guaranteed to wake up on the 4th turn. So it's always important when you're working with sleep to count your turns so that you know whether the Pokemon is guaranteed to wake up or whether you have a chance that it'll stay asleep. Okay, so next up I want to talk about volatile status. And remember, these are the statuses that will go away when your Pokemon is switched out. So first up is a fairly common one, that's confusion. When your Pokemon is confused, you have a 33% chance to hurt yourself. And the way that this damage is calculated, it's calculated as if the Pokemon had attacked itself with a base 40 power typeless physical attack. Now, this physical attack will never critical hit. You don't have to worry about the possibility of a crit when you're confused. But that's why we always like to have special attackers on our teams have 0 attack. We want our special attackers to have the lowest attack stat possible in the case of confusion, so that confusion will do less damage to yourself. Now, it's important to keep in mind that confusion will wear off after 1 to 4 attacking turns. So this doesn't count turns like recharging after Hyper Beam or if you're asleep, unless you're using Snore or Sleep Talk. And multi-turn attacks like Fly and Dive mean that confusion is going to be checked both turns. So turn 1, you try to use Fly. Let's say you're not confused, so you go ahead and fly up high. Turn 2, you try to use Fly for the damaging portion of the attack. It will check confusion again, and you will again have a 33% chance to hurt yourself and interrupt the attack. Finally, it's important to keep in mind that confusion does go away if you switch your Pokemon out, but it will be transferred through Baton Pass to the Pokemon that you bring in if you choose to use Baton Pass. Next up is a super common status in competitive. This is Flinch. So Flinch is just a 1-turn status that keeps your Pokemon from attacking. And you can only be flinched if you're hit by another Pokemon's move before you get to use your move. And typically it's things like Air Slash or Rock Slide, which have a certain percentage chance of flinching an opposing Pokemon. Keep in mind that Dynamax Pokemon and Pokemon that have the Inner Focus ability can never be flinched. They're immune. And Pokemon with the Steadfast ability can flinch, but every time they do, they'll gain speed. And finally, the last status that I want to talk about is Taunt. Taunt can be really frustrating and competitive. It's very common, it's all over the place, and it can be a little bit frustrating to fight against. So a taunted Pokemon cannot use any status moves for 3 turns. So the Taunt status can only be inflicted by the move Taunt, and it's important to keep in mind that there are some items that can alleviate the effects. So 1, you can switch out your Pokemon to get rid of the effects of Taunt, but you could also give it an item like Mental Herb, which will 1 time only in a battle remove the effects of Taunt. So that's all we have to talk about today. I hope this was a little bit helpful, just kind of talking about some statuses and how they work, exactly how much damage they do, exactly how many turns they last for, things like that. Feel free to leave a comment down below if you have any comments or questions. You can also find the link to my Twitch channel down below, so if you'd like to just come in live and ask questions, you can do that as well. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more like it, feel free to like and subscribe so that I know you want more videos like this and so that you can see more videos when I make more. Until next time, that's all I've got for you. I'll see y'all later. Bye!